Lou Gehrig Burnett was destined for greatness. As a young boy growing up in Houma, Louisiana, he was a pace setter both in the classroom and on the field. At 12 years old, Burnett would run home after playing and in short order type up a recap of the game, complete with a headline. Burnett excelled in the classroom and won numerous awards as a student and an athlete. Lou was born into a sports-minded family not long after the famous baseball player Lou Gehrig died, hence his first and middle name. And it was his name, Lou Gehrig, that actually cinched Burnett's first staff job in Washington, D.C. with Representative F. Edward Hebert in 1966. Representative Hebert of New Orleans' 1st District had fond memories of covering the Yankees' first baseman when he was writing for the Times-Picayune. Later, Hebert admitted it was Lou's name that put him atop the list of prospects for his press secretary position. Burnett would spend a total of 27 years in Washington, D.C., working and serving Congressman Edward Hebert and 5th District Representative Jerry Huckaby.
As we began to work together, I realized that Lou was a real wordsmith. This guy had a magical way with words. And not only that, but he was a very effective administrator. He ran a tight ship.
No member of Congress is going to be successful unless he has a good staff.
Former Governor Edwin Edwards was serving as Louisiana's 7th Congressional District Representative at the time Burnett began to make a name for himself.
The thing about it is this. When you're in Congress, you have to serve constituents at all levels. And you have to worry about Social Security, you have to worry about the military, you have to worry about veterans, you have to worry about old people, children, disabled, and it covers the whole gamut of human endeavor. And a fellow like Lou understood that and could serve a member of Congress by being a liaison between people who needed help and the congressman who could render the help.
It was Burnett himself looking for some help and some guidance back in 1959 after enrolling at Nicholls State. His professor, Dr. Al Delahaye, the founder of the Nicholls State Journalism Program and fellow member of the LSU Manship Hall of Fame, convinced Burnett to go into journalism. Burnett didn't just enter into journalism, he became immersed in it. While at Nicholls State, Burnett worked part-time as a sports editor for the Houma Terrebonne Star. He was also a reporter and editor for the school paper, the Nicholls Worth, the first sophomore to hold the position of editor. After studying for 2 years at Nicholls, Burnett transferred to LSU to continue his journalism degree. At LSU, he began covering sports for the Reveille and eventually became the managing editor of the paper. In 1963, Burnett caused quite a flap for an editorial he wrote stating that LSU should play integrated schools, a contentious topic at the time. So much so that Burnett was beckoned to then LSU President Dr. John Hunter's office about his contestable article. The dust eventually settled, and Burnett continued his concentration on his writing. During his collegiate years, Burnett also worked part-time as editor for the Houma Courier and was a stringer for the Times-Picayune and the Morning Advocate, all the while a full-time student. Burnett received his bachelor's degree in 1963 from LSU and his master's in journalism from the Manship School in 1965. The following year, prior to leaving for D.C. to work for Representative Hebert, he enlisted into the National Guard, where he served proudly for 8 years. Several years later, in 1971, Burnett made quite a name for himself when CBS News was desperate for an interview with Burnett's boss, the sometimes bearish Representative Hebert, who was chairman of the powerful Armed Services Committee. CBS had aired a controversial documentary called The Selling of the Pentagon, which portrayed the questionable practice of Pentagon officials lobbying on the taxpayers' dime. Hebert wanted nothing to do with the subsequent documentary that CBS was wanting to air. He refused to be interviewed. That is until one day when Burnett walked into Hebert's office and told his boss he was wrong for refusing to be filmed and he should grant CBS the interview. Burnett thought for sure he would be fired. As it were, Hebert conceded and allowed CBS to interview him, to the delight of everyone at CBS, especially Bob Schieffer.
Lou Gehrig Burnett got up his gumption and went in and told the boss something he didn't want to hear. He said, Mr. Hebert, you really ought to do this. They want to talk to you, and you ought to do that interview. Well, lo and behold, Hebert thought about it and said he would do it, and they called me. I'd covered Mr. Hebert over the years, and he gave me a very good interview. It was really the best explanation of his side of the story and the Pentagon side of the story, and we were all happy about it. And you know, I don't know what makes me think of this, But we might need a few more people in government these days who are not afraid to tell their boss what they really think and what they ought to do.
For nearly 3 decades, Burnett became one of the most influential advisors in D.C. Everything from speechwriter to chief of staff, from handling the press to overseeing re-election campaigns, Burnett did it all. Somehow, Burnett also found time to help write several books: The Real Spiro Agnew and The Last of the Titans, The Life and Times of F. Edward Hebert of Louisiana. Burnett would never venture far from his first love, writing. Once Representative Jerry Huckaby retired in 1993, Burnett made his way back home, this time to Shreveport. Over the years, Burnett has won numerous awards for his columns in the Bossier Press Tribune and later in the Forum News. He's known as the political voice of Shreveport and publishes a political newspaper called the FaxNet Update. This year, Burnett is celebrating 51 years as a journalist and political advisor. He credits Dr. Al Delahaye of Nicholls State and Dr. Price of the LSU Manship School of Mass Communications for his stellar career, a career that touched thousands of people across the state, country, and world.
Well, I think this is a very great deserved honor, and I'm very pleased that you folks have decided to do that for Lou, and I know he appreciates it, and I tell you, he really deserves it.
Lou Gehrig Burnett, congratulations on your induction into the Manship School Hall of Fame.
It's been 40 years, and Lou and I have had a wonderful relationship during that entire 40 years. And I want to say, congratulations, my dear friend. You're certainly deserving of this award.
Lou, I want to congratulate you on being inducted into the Hall of Fame. You're exactly the kind of person that ought to be in the Hall of Fame, and I wish there were more folks like you in government today. All the best to you.
Congratulations to Lou Burnett, 2017 inductee into the LSU Manship School of Mass Communication Hall of Fame.